So who won the transfer window? We're going to dive through every single club and rate their transfer window. How have they done through sales, through who they've bought, who they've purchased, and all that good stuff. Right, let's start with the first team in the Premier League, and that is Arsenal. Arsenal, in the window, signed the likes of Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko, Fabio Vieira. Also, they had a few players moving out of the club. Guendouzi, Lucas Torreira, Bernd Leno, Hector Bellerin to Bayern Munich, Lacazette out, Pepe out, Maitland-Niles out. I love what Arsenal have done in the recent windows. I'm going to put them into the A bracket, the A category. I think they've done very, very well. I just think one team has done a little bit better than them in the whole entire Premier League. I think the signings of, obviously, Jesus have massively pushed the level of Arsenal. The pressing from the front, I think that is a fantastic acquisition. Arsenal, under Edu, turning into a really good football team. Let's move on to Aston Villa. Aston Villa next up. I think they've had an absolute stinker. I don't like the signing of Diego Carlos. I don't like the signing of Coutinho. I think Deng Donkor's a really rushed signing at the end of the window. It feels like they haven't prepared at all this time. And I think F is probably the correct point for Aston Villa. They will struggle this season. Moving on to another team that I think haven't done too well. Again, the signings have come pretty late, but they've also not been great. And that, of course, is Bournemouth. They are in the F category. They've already sacked Scott Carson. They've already sacked Scott Parker, and they are in a bit of a hole in the Premier League. Sensi joined from Feyenoord. You had Marcus Tavernier joining from Middlesbrough, but very uninspiring from Bournemouth. Bang! Straight into the F tier. Get into the comments, guys, what you think about this tier list, who you think Bournemouth should be. Next up, Brentford. Brentford is a bit of an interesting one. Brentford could have gone either way. They lost Christian Eriksen's creativity, which I thought was a big, big part of their resurgence last season. They have signed youth, though, signing the likes of Damsgaard, Aaron Hickey, and Keane Lewis Potter from Hull City. I think it was an okay window, but I don't think it was amazing. I like Ben Mee joining on a free transfer, but at 32, how many seasons is he going to have at centre-back? So we're going to drop those guys up into D, the D tier. Getting some agreement in the chat. Love to see it. Right, next up, Brighton. Brighton, who had a very, very interesting window, selling Yves Bissouma to Spurs for 26 million quid with only 2 years left on his deal. Selling Mopé to Everton for 10 million quid considering he had 12 months left. But the big one, Cucurella to Chelsea for a near record fee for a defender in the Premier League. A record fee for a fullback at £58 million. I'm just putting Brighton into the A tier because of that sort of move. City were interested. They offered 30 million. Was batted back by Brighton, and then Chelsea came. They made a lot of money, but also I think the good part of what they've done is they've replaced him for 16 million quid with Estepina joining from Villarreal, who was fantastic in last season's Champions League. I love that signing. I like the signing of Billy Gilmore as well. I think he's going to provide a lot of quality. He's a good player. He'll suit Potter's system. I just think from the sales, Brighton deserve to be, high up the list. Right, let's move forward. Next up, Chelsea. Chelsea is a bit of a weird one. I could see them in C. I could see them in B. I don't think they've had an A. I think they still require a true defensive midfielder. If they'd signed Frankie de Jong, they would have been an A. I might put them in. I'm going to go with B. I like some of their business. The likes of I think Sterling suits their system. I think Koulibaly was good, but overall I think they've overspent. Wesley Fofana for 72 million, Cucurella for 58 million, Sterling for 50 million. They've brought Pierre Aubameyang to the football club, which is crazy. The only thing that I'd counter that with is only Kylian Mbappe scored more goals in club football under Thomas Tuchel than Aubameyang. But I just don't like it. I really don't. Actually, I'm going to downgrade it. We're going to downgrade it to C. I think that's the one. I just feel that combined with some of the players that they've kind of let go with your with your Billy Gilmores that I like, but I think maybe Leipzig getting Timo Werner back was smart. I think Lukaku to Inter has just been one hell of a stinky transfer. We could even downgrade them to D because of that. You guys let me know in the comments what you think. Chelsea's a difficult one to go. I like their signings, but I think there's been too much money spent. and the Lukaku thing has to be spoke about. You know, you can't sign a player for over 90 million quid and then loan him back to the same club for 7 million afterwards, even if there is a buyback in that clause. Right, let's move forward to Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace having a bit of a weird window. I love the signing of Chet Doucouré. I think he's been excellent so far in the Premier League. But I feel they needed to improve their fullbacks. I feel like they needed to add a bit more depth in central midfield. They've only really made one signing alike, which is a complete opposite of signing the likes of Eze, Elise over the last few windows. So we're actually going to put Crystal Palace in E. Maybe a little bit harsh, but I just don't think they've done enough business this summer for me to see them improving. Next up, we've got Everton. Another team that has had a very, very poor window. They are straight in F. I just don't understand their recruitment strategy. You know, Onana, Dwight McNeil, Mope, James Garner, Idrissa Gana Gay. They've signed, 3 midfielders? They've already got 2 good central midfielders. Tarkowski, Vinagria, Connor Cody. Lampard is in a bit of disarray here, guys. And I do think that's an F category for Everton. Right, moving forward to Fulham. Fulham have been fantastic in the Premier League so far. Palhinha's been good. Andreas Pereira's been good. Mitrovic is scoring the goals. But I feel a lot of their business was done at the back end of the window, which to me seems as they've not really planned it. When you're considering the likes of Kevin Mbabu joined recently. You've got Carlos Vinicius, Willian signed at the back window. It seems a little bit more like they just had to get bodies in. Kazawa joined from PSG. I don't massively like what they've done. And I think they could have bought better players earlier on. So we're going to also put Fulham in the E category. Some stinky late deals ruling that one out. Next up, Leeds United. I think they're just a bit below average. I think they've made some good signings, which fits their style quite well. You know, you've got the likes of Aronson joining from Salzburg, Tyler Adams joining from Leipzig, Christensen's joining from Salzburg as well, Rocker from Bayern. But if you compare it to what they've lost, Rafinha, Kelvin Phillips, they've come out with probably a worse squad. So we're going to drop them into the D category. Pretty harsh, I know, but we've got to make some big calls in this game. Next up, Leicester City, straight into F. Let's not mess about. They hardly made any signings over the summer. They replaced Wesley Fofana after he was gone. I really feel for Brendan Rodgers. He is going to struggle this season. No new attackers, no new midfielders. Yuri Tielemans' contract's up in the air. They've just not sorted things out. So straight into the F category. Liverpool, next up, Liverpool. They obviously started the window really well. Darwin Núñez, fantastic signing. Fabio Carvalho, great signing. Ramsey adds depth, but Jurgen Klopp's admitted in press conferences that he's made a mistake in the window and they didn't get a midfielder. Arthur Melo has been described by certain fan bases of a player that is lazy and doesn't care. This is going to have to be really, really big for Liverpool. They need to get Arthur Melo back up to their standards. Because when he broke into the Barcelona team, one of the best midfielders in his age bracket, controlled the tempo, moved the ball around, Thiago-esque. But this is after failing at Barca, failing at Juventus, and then Liverpool signing him right at the back end of the window. I would argue that Liverpool could even be a D, but I think the signing of Darwin Núñez puts them up a level because I think he's a great signing for 67 million. He's going to be really good for them. But Melo, I think, is an absolute stinker of a signing. Right, next on to... Let's flip it round. Let's next do Wolverhampton Wanderers. Let's go to the back end of the alphabet. Wolves have made some acquisitions. You've got the likes of Kalasic joining from Stuttgart, Nathan Collins from Burnley, Guedes from Valencia, Mateus Nunes from Sporting Lisbon, who's linked with Liverpool, Man United, and so forth. I think they've had a decent window. Wolves, I think you could, maybe argue that they up to a B tier, C tier, but I think the deal's dragged on a bit. You're thinking a number of these signings have only just come to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Feels like they've let themselves down. They should have bought a striker at the start of the window, so we are downgrading those guys. Next up, West Ham United. I think they have done in really, really good business. When you're looking at the squad they've now got with Scamacca, with, Lucas Paqueta, they're two players that could play for, you know, Champions League sides. You think about the depth that they've added as well with Max Cornet, Emerson, Timo Kehrer. I really like the business West Ham have done this summer, and I feel like they're only going to improve in the Premier League. Right, next up, Spurs. Spurs, a team that have added great depth to their squad. There's so many ingoings. You like Richarlison, Basuma, Destiny, Jed Spence, Ivan Perisic, Clement Longley, and Fraser Forster. The one thing I'd say about that is that have they improved their starting 11? I think they've improved their squad, but has their starting 11 got better? I think they're going to go into the C category. I think their squad is a lot better, but you've not added enough quality in the real key positions. I think there's still a need for a right wing back in there. They've obviously brought Jed Spence in from Borough, but Conte didn't really want him. That's one area of the team. I love the signing of Richarlison. I think that gives them good depth. Maybe I'm being harsh. Let's move them up to B. I think the signing of Perisic is very good as well. Let's move them up to B. In agreement. We're in agreement. Right, next up, Southampton. They have gone youth. Youth has been where they're looking at. They've raided Man City's under-21 side. 4 signings from City's under-21s. They've bought wingers, fullbacks, goalkeepers. Lavia in midfield has been fantastic. Bazuno has been brilliant in goal. I think Southampton's policy's been great. I think one of the best signings, though, Bella Kotchap. He is impressed me so much. Big performances against United and Chelsea. He looks so dominant. I think he's absolutely fantastic. So we're throwing Southampton into the A category. Let's get this party started. Next up, a controversial team that made 21 signings in the Premier League. Nottingham Forest have basically rebuilt their entire team. Biggest of their spending, 26 million on Morgan's Gibbs-White plus add-ons, which can take it to 24. Owoni joined from Union Berlin. Nico Williams joined from Liverpool. Emmanuel Dennis joined for Watford. That's on top of the likes of Freuler, Lewis O'Brien, Reddy Loddy. They have spent money and they've bought loads of players in. The one thing I'd say why it might not be a B or an A is it's going to be difficult to find their best 11. Maybe they've got too many signings is the only concern. I do like what they've done though. You look at the age bracket of all those players that are on the top end of their spend. You know, the likes of Owoni, Nico Williams, Emmanuel Dennis, Gibbs-White, Mangala, all under 25. So there is for the future, but it is a proper FM rebuild, and sometimes in FM it's difficult to get that chemistry early doors, so that's why potentially we'll put them in the C list. Right, let's fly through the last 3 teams. Newcastle United, I think they had a solid window that's going to go under the radar. I'm going to put them in B. What Newcastle are doing, which I think is really good, is they're slowly building a team. They're slowly getting those pieces in. You know, I think they've got a brilliant goalkeeper already in Nick Pope. I think with him joining the club over the summer is a great acquisition. So that's one player in your Champions League starting 11. I think then you throw Botman in, who's a fantastic centre-half. You've got Isak in there as well. Those 3 signings, join the likes of Bruno Guimaraes and Kieran Trippier, really upgrading the side. I think they've done well. I think they've had an underrated window. So we're going to put them into B. Right, the last 2 teams, Manchester City and Manchester United, one of which has had an S tier window. We're talking, could it be one of the greatest windows of all time? I'm not going to give that to Manchester United. I think they've had a C window. I think their window could have been a lot better. They flapped around the market. They waited too long for Frankie de Jong. They've spent nearly 200 million euros on players from Ajax when they could have bought both, you know, Lisandro Martinez and Antony for, what, 20 million euros fewer in terms of cash if they bought them at the start of the window. I like the signings, though. I do like the signings. Antony's going to bring great quality to United's right wing. Casemiro is a proven winner that can anchor the midfield. Martinez is, you know, bullying Premier League players already. Malacia looks like a good ball player. Eriksen's been fantastic. And Dubravka's just another body in the squad. But the you know, the way that United have done their business over the summer, for me, puts it into C tier. I think they need to be quicker, they need to be faster, they need to have targets. A lot of these targets seem to have come from Erik ten Hag's, you know, history in the Eredivisie, which isn't a bad thing because he knows these players, but at the same time, what's happened at the rest of the football club? So we're going to bang Manchester United into C. I like the signings, but they should have come a lot sooner. The planning should have been there pre-season with the likes of Casemiro, Antony, Malacia, Martinez, Eriksen. United would have been in a much better position. So, which leaves City absolute C. Not only have they made the second highest amount of income in Europe behind Ajax, they made £144 million over the summer. The second best in Europe behind Ajax. But they've moved the squad on. Sterling's gone, Jesus is gone, Zinchenko's gone, and Fernandinho's gone. And they have replaced them with Haaland, Calvin Phillips, Sergio Gomez has come in, Akanji's come in. It's been fantastic. Not to talk about Julian Alvarez as well, who's joined following his loan spell from River Plate. It's one hell of a window for Manchester City. There's a reason why they are probably going to easily win the Premier League again. And Haaland's, 9 goals in 5 games? For 54 million quid. Basically, if you take Sterling's money and then you add that to Pedro Porro's money, you've bought Haaland. Incredible bits of business. City S tier. Guys, if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button, like that goddamn video, and get in the comments below who do you want to see us check out next.